Hello, everybody. Buenas noches. Bienvenidos de nuevo a Lili Sin Barreras. Otro domingo. Bueno, para mí es domingo. Yo no sé dónde usted está. For me, it's Sunday. Welcome to Lili Sin Barreras. I am excited every time I get to meet with you guys. Every time we get to talk to guests, even when we are in community, and just talking in our own community. I mean, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Tribe loves it. We love it. Today we have a special guest, and these are the guests that make me like get all pumped up, ¿verdad? Me emociono mucho porque son personas que nunca he conocido. Nunca he conocido, pero alguien de confianza me dice, tienes que hablar con esta persona. Y mi gente, yo la respeto mucho. I respect a lot the wisdom and opinion of our community. So when someone says to me, do you know who this is? And sadly, I have to say, no. They say, do you not know what this person has done and where they work and what they do? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, we need to get them. We need to get them for our show. Buenas noches, ya está llegando todo el mundo. Ha llegado Puerto Rico. Nigeria, thank you for showing up. We love you. We love you. We love you. I have no idea how I made it to Nigeria, but here I am. Welcome. The Puerto Rican is out again. El suelo de la puertorriqueña viene de nuevo. Quiero compartir con todos ustedes que este fin de semana ha sido un fin de semana de eso. Angélica, ¿cómo estás? Dios te bendiga. Tus hijos están grandísimas. ¿Qué pasa? No le des más de esa comida que le estás dando. Ya. No le de comer por un mes. Ay, Dios mío. Ya me van a llamar a DCF, al Departamento de Defensa de Menores y todo eso. Pero esta noche tenemos con nosotros una persona que me hacen el llamado y me dicen, mira, conocemos a esta persona en la comunidad, que es una persona muy preparada, una persona que se ha dado a la lucha de prepararse, una persona que quiere dar lo mejor de ella para la comunidad y lo lleva haciendo por mucho tiempo. Este es el único programa bilingüe. Señoras y señoras, this is the only show, and I'm so proud of that because we're multi-generational. So here you don't have to say what. Here you have to say, get what? And I'll be right there with you. Kathleen San-Hours is with us, one of our authors. Wanda Allers is with us. You know that she's my right hand. And let me tell you about the beautiful tribe that we have. Today, in my living room, in my home, we were having Chinese food. For the nutritionists who are out there, please don't hurt me. Don't send me nasty notes. Every once in a while, I behave badly. But the Chinese food was delicious. So sorry. Estaba comiendo arroz chino con carnecita así quemadita y todo. Y tenía a dos de mis panas conmigo, con mi tribu. So, welcome to all of you. I'm going to bring up to the screen a woman que nombre de pila para aquellos que conocen eso, o sea, el nombre de nacimiento es Sonia N. Ella nos dirá de qué la N, ¿verdad? Para ser chismoso. Colón Mora. Right? And it's her resume is like, you know, I got 4 pages. Tengo 4 páginas de la hoja de vida o resumen, como usted le quiera decir. So it's like 4 pages. Oh my God. I'm thinking she's too young to have 4 pages. Last week, I talked to you in a live about looking for your heroes all over the world. They're right here in your neighborhood. So let's welcome to our show, señoras y señores, con nosotros va a estar esta dama, esta señora compañera de nosotros en el Chilingue, como dicen en mi pueblo. And there she is. Hola, Sonia. Oh, wait, we got to give her a voice. Oh my goodness, an advocate without a voice. Not possible.
Hola, ¿cómo está?
Estamos muy bien, gracias. Las cámaras van a debatir de un lado a otro. Carrie Ann, welcome to the show. You are the most important guest, so we're going to keep you up there, Sonia. Sonia, tell us who you are.
So I'm Sonia Mora. My parents are from Puerto Rico, from Macao and Corozal. And I was raised in New York and Brooklyn, and our family moved to Connecticut in the early 80s to give us a better life. And that's how it started here in Connecticut.
Señores, me dejan con la boca abierta porque las cámaras están corriendo de un lado a otro. Better life. Tell us about that, Sonia. Sonia nos dice que ella viene de Puerto Rico, ¿verdad, Sonia?
Sí,
¿Dónde vienes?
Mi papá es de Macao y mi mamá es de Corozal.
No. Tu mamá es de Corozal. ¿O
sí,
tu papá?
mi mamá es de Corozal, de Palo Blanco.
Corozal está en la casa, señoras y señores. Ok.
Y mi papá es de Humacao y ellos se conocieron en Puerto Rico y tengo un hermano que falleció y tengo una
I'm so
hermana.
sorry.
Yep. Y bueno, nos trajeron para Nueva York y vivimos en Brooklyn y mi papá siempre ha sido un hombre trabajador y mi mamá y decidieron a darle una oportunidad, a ayudarnos a tener más oportunidades de lo que teníamos en Nueva York y llegamos a Connecticut con la esperanza de algo nuevo.
¿Y cuándo fue
Y mi
eso?
papá tenía familia aquí en Nueva York, en Connecticut, so la transición fue un poquito más fácil porque teníamos apoyo de la familia paternal de mi papá, del lado de mi papá. So yeah, we were blessed to have family in New York and that supported us, and blessed to have family in Connecticut that was able to support us as we transitioned over here. So
Oh my
yeah.
God, that's so cool. That's
Yeah,
so
I
cool.
come from big families. Both my mother is a big family, and my father's side of the family is a big family. And I guess I would have to say my father is my inspiration.
Señoras y señores, escuchen eso. Su papá es su inspiración. Su papá es su inspiración. Sonia, before we go into the nitty gritty, let's go
Yes,
into the heart because
yes.
that you started it, not me. This time I didn't even have to move. Los comentarios ven todas esas burbujitas que están por ahí. Todas esas son las personas que ya han llegado. So if you see all of these little circles, those are the people that are with us. Hagan todas las preguntas que quieran. Invítense ustedes mismos a la conversación. Ya mismo van a ver sus comentarios. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Es el único programa que también te vas con $50 al final del programa. Okay, so pendientes, pendientes, pendientes. Sonia, your father is your inspiration?
Yes.
Tell me.
My father was the first person I knew who went to college.
Ay, él fue el primer universitario, tu
Él
papá.
fue.
Ay,
Él fue. So él abrió la puerta. He opened the door.
wow.
He let me know that it was possible. There it
Wow.
is.
Oiga, papá, pero qué bien, qué bien, qué bien, qué bien. Para todos ustedes, Sonia, you have chosen a walk that's not easy.
Yes.
You have chosen most people would call it a career, but when I look at your resume, I don't see a career. I see a calling. Can I do that? Can I say that?
I think that's fair to say.
So, cuando yo miro el resumen de Sonia, ¿te puedo llamar Sonia?
Claro que sí, claro.
No, su resumen es completamente, su hoja de vida es completamente impresionante, pero hay algo que es el eco. Y entonces, cuando yo veo a las personas que trabajan en el eco, ¿verdad? Continuo, el mambo. Continuo, yo siento que es un llamado, porque sigues creciendo en la misma área que escogiste para ayudar a las personas, pero sigues creciendo. So you decide to get better and better and better and get more education and more education and more education, but you stay in the love factory of helping others.
Yes. Y eso le doy gracias a mi mamá.
Mom!
Ella es la trabajadora social naturalmente. She was the natural social worker in our family. We always had a cousin, an uncle, a relative that needed help. I'm using air quotes. That needed help, that needed a little push, that needed a little straightening out. And that was my mother. They would stay with us for some time, and my mother would just kind of rebuild them and push them back out. It was just natural for me to go into social work and to help others. That's what I knew. That's what my family did.
That is incredible. Por aquí está Wanda Adlers, por aquí está mi mamá directamente desde Puerto Rico. My mom thought I was probably going to be a social worker from day one. And was very scared for me. Worse, mommy, I became an advocate. Ay, pobrecita, mi madre. So I'm so sorry, mommy. I love you, mommy. So you have your father is the first generation to go to college.
Yes.
Tu mamá, I love the way that you put this, Sonia, because it's so important. The kitchen table. I tell people all the time. En las mesas de nuestros hogares, en el balcón, it doesn't matter where you grew up, right? There's always that person, there's always that Maria Sanchez. For those of
Yes.
you who don't know
Yes.
Maria Sanchez, there's always that Julia de Burgos. For those who don't know Julia de Burgos, there's always that Maya Angelou. Um, for those of you who don't know who Maya Angelou is, we talk about this all the time. There's the Kathleen 10 Hours of the world. And now we know Sonia. But your mom,
Very
tell us
grateful.
as a child. No, I'm very serious. As a child, tell us a little bit about that. Cuéntanos un poquito. Como niña, estás observando que tu mamá está
Siempre.
ayudando a los demás.
Siempre. Eso fue algo natural en mi familia. Era normal que un tío se viniera a quedar con nosotros por un tiempito. Era normal que mi tía mandara a su hija cuando tenía dificultades en la crianza con ella. Y mi mamá siempre ha sido una persona que de confianza para muchos y me imagino que la veían a ella como una persona safe, sana, para una persona que pudiera ayudar a otra persona. Y mami y papi siempre han sido personas que han sido bien amistosos en la comunidad, tienen muchas amistades, siempre han sido una pareja fuerte. Bueno, casi 60 años de matrimonio.
Wow, her
Yeah.
parents are almost at the 60 mark of love.
Yes.
Anniversaries are only beautiful when they are, right?
Yes. Yep.
All about love. So congratulations. I was asking Sonia really about, for those of you who are joining us, about our kitchen tables. You know, it's and Sonia, you can testify to this because you have all of these expertise, but I just want to set the stage as a community activist and as someone who has a brain injury and who survived many things by the grace of God. And that's my belief. But I know that at the kitchen table, and you can call your kitchen table your living room, the salon. I think barber shops. I walk into a barber shop. I just did an interview with a barber shop and, two barbers in Puerto Rico. And we got the best interview ever. It was like walking into the mental health clinic. That's it. You guys got some competition, some serious competition.
Yeah.
But it's in these spaces that you least expect that the children are watching what's happening. So some people do resent that. I've interviewed other people and go, oh my God, mi casa siempre estaba llena de gente. Dios mío, todo el que no tenía casa estaba en mi casa. Oh my God, there was always somebody sleeping in the other room. My house, my house, my house. But you took it as a, wow, look at my mom.
Yeah.
Kind of like the healer, the trusted one in the community, the one that would be trusted even with other people's children.
Absolutely.
You should have given me her number. I would have sent some people over there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the combination of my mother and the strictness of my father at the time, when I was growing up, that combination I think was just stable for us, and I think for the family members that came to live with us and stay with us. Era normal, no era algo diferente, no era algo nuevo. Para nosotros no era algo nuevo ni diferente. Cuando crecí, yo veo la diferencia ahora. Yo miro, wow, no todo el mundo era así, no todo el mundo se crió. Yo fui bien agradecida de mi crianza porque yo nunca me costé sin comer. Yo siempre tenía, mami siempre se inventaba, o sea, y papi, pobre y humilde, pero siempre había para nosotros y para el que llegara.
But but it's interesting. So I want to go back to this. Many people, hi Carrie Ann, and many people I have heard have resented that type of interaction. It seems like you took it in as, wow.
Well, probably, and I'll be fair. I think early on, I probably was kind of like, "What the heck?
Why did everybody go home?"
Yeah, and why have to share? But as a kid, right? But as you grow up, you realize that they were doing way more community work than I could have ever imagined. It's only with the grace of God and my ability to pursue my education that I can look back and really, truly see that they were natural community advocates, social workers before they were even possible to do that. And they just inspired me and created an opportunity for me to be able to do it. They always supported my choices and made it happen.
Well, it sounds like some of us should have been moved in with Sonia. So
With Marianne Felipe.
okay, so Doña Maria and Felipe, you could have taken us in. So I think you discriminated against some of us. I had a good mom. I had a good mom. My mom's a warrior. There's a lot of love out there, Sonia.
I see some,
Te
yes.
amo, mommy.
Yes,
Proud of you, mommy.
yes.
My
That's
hero, mommy.
that's
Um,
my senior in high school who's getting ready to go off to college and do hers. Do hers. She's going to be a special education teacher.
Oh my goodness. This is going to keep growing and growing and
Yep.
going. Carla Butler,
Yeah.
thank you. So there's a lot of love here, a lot of love. Mucho amor aquí hay para Sonia. Learning that love is a verb at the kitchen table.
Yes.
That's my saying for those of you who are new here.
Yes.
Love is
I
a
love that.
verb. Love is a
I love
verb. Love is a verb. It's not something that's stagnant. Okay. It is strong. It's willful. It's, take your eyes out. You mess with my loved ones. But it's also compassionate and patient and forgiving. And mommy would say chancleta power is good too.
Yes.
You know, you all should know what chancleta power is.
Yes.
And if you don't, there's a lot of reading on chancleta power. Sonia, on a serious note, when I look at your resume, I will tell you that were you born with the love and compassion for others? I understand that at the kitchen table and your father was an inspiration, but what inside of you says, wow, I do want to be involved in the growth and the healing and empathy and compassion, because you can't do this for this long
No.
if you're not in love with it.
True. I love what I do. I think I've always just tried to challenge myself to do more. When I started my career, I started as a teacher's assistant. I started at elementary school where my nephew went, and it was part of one of my college courses project. And going into the classroom and having the opportunity to work with the kids, it had an impact, an immediate impact, where I knew that whatever I did, it was going to have to be with children and families and so forth. And I was fortunate enough that the teacher that I was doing my class project with, she was a social worker, but she changed over to become an educator. And she was the one who said, "You're going to do great things. You really should pursue social work." And it was kind of like I think the message that I needed, right? To say, yeah, you could do this, girl, do it. And
Wow.
that just started it. And before I knew it, I actually got my first job at Families in Crisis before I even graduated, which that was huge. Before I even had my degree, I was actually out in the social work field and working. And you'll see that's one of my first jobs. And that was probably the hardest job as a young social worker you could ever have. I was going into Connecticut prisons. I was doing therapy for inmates many were dads and moms who were separated from their children, and they didn't have services to help them explain how they ended up there or why they made the choices they made and how it impacted the children they left behind. And so that was really important. It was such hard work, and it filled me up. It filled me completely. I was fortunate enough to be able in that work to start a program for the kids. So I was doing the work. I was doing the work in the prisons. I was working with the parents that were inmates. I was doing men's corrections, women's corrections, all of it. And from that, I started doing community work where I was working at the alternative incarceration centers. And so they didn't go to jail. They had to go to these places where they had to stay all day and do groups and sort of get re-educated and manage their issues, whatever those issues were, because it was different for a lot of them. So I would facilitate groups on anger management, parenting, communication styles, all kinds of things. but it grew to create this development of this program called Yes, Youth Enrichment Services. And it was the opportunity to really have a space to work with the kids of the inmates, right? And the parents that were left behind to hold it while the inmates were in jail serving their time. So
I
it was,
can't I cannot believe, and I don't mean to interrupt you,
yeah,
that
no,
that
please.
we were working in similar spaces. I'm 54, so I'm older than you, but I want to point out the fact that our prisons are full of people,
Yep.
believe it or not, who could be out in society with a little bit of help.
Yes.
Um, and what we don't realize is I did the Fatherhood Initiative. I fought for the Fatherhood Initiative in the state of Connecticut. I went into the prisons. Because I was so concerned about how so many men were going into jails due to their child support inability to support their children. And so the question we were asking is why, why, why? The question really is what? For me, it was what's happening? What gets us to this point? What gets a 17-year-old to decide that they can take on fatherhood? What happens to them in the journey? What happens to the partner? What happens to their family? When you started that conversation, I still remember going into an incarceration facility, and it broke my heart to find out that there was 3 generations in there.
Oh, yeah.
But what people weren't able to listen. The number one, I would say, tool that we have in our box is listening. And so when we're not able to do that, then we start asking why. We were like, we want to penetrate the why, and it's so judgmental. But if you listen for a little bit, you'll hear all the what's.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? At what age did it happen? Who was in charge? And not out of guilt, not out of, okay, mommy's fault, daddy's fault, because get off that horse, baby. You're an adult. So let's figure out how do we heal and how do we move forward. Okay. Because mommy and daddy, but yeah, they can't, that's over. But how do we heal? And so it's 2 or 3 generations. But I made a huge journey, but I always remember thinking some of them were babies under 25 years old.
Oh yeah, a lot of the young men that I worked with were very young, and at the time, you have to remember this is the time when gangs were really big in Hartford. So these were a lot of people similar to my own age that I was actually working with, and their life experiences that contributed to it, whether it was influenced by peers, family, the community they were in. A lot of the youth at that time were in survival mode. It was, and that was huge. So having the opportunity to work with them and really help them to channel some of that anger, to really reframe for themselves, kind of what you just talked about, right? You can only blame your parents for so much of your decision making. At some point, you have to take some accountability for your own decision and choices.
And were they ill-equipped also to do some of those things?
Generational. It was generational. You could tell. And that's why, when we started this conversation, I said, I was blessed. I was blessed with great parents who created a safe space for me. But not many of the people that I've worked with had that. Right. And so, their experiences were different. Their experiences, most people function on fight or flight mode. They're scared or they're running away from situations that could possibly help them. And so those.
Oh, I love that, Sonia. I have to. Oh my God, we're going to have to bring you back because those are really good, brilliant notes. Watch the humility, because this is my job to point out these things. She didn't start at the beginning of her resume. She started really, and I mean, at the present of her resume, she started telling you the beginning.
Yes.
Now where she is now. Check box. Think about this. Where do people start a conversation with you has a lot to do with how you're going to journey with them. Okay. In any type of setting. So being able to hear that, I already know about your mom, your dad, that you have this beautiful,
Two beautiful daughters.
two beautiful daughters. You know
Daughters.
you were going to get in trouble. Two, dos,
Dos.
son dos, son cuatro. I love you like if you were four babies. So I hear you. So, pero empezamos del área donde admiro a Sonia, porque ha crecido muchísimo, se ha desarrollado muchísimo, es una joya que tenemos en la comunidad. Aparte de esto, ella comienza la conversación desde su niñez, agradeciendo a su papá, agradeciendo a su mamá y las primeras experiencias que tuvo con aquellos que estaban privados de su libertad. ¿Okay? Y aprendiendo de por qué está pasando esto, lo cual nos ayuda a nosotros a desarrollar. Señoras y señores, cualquiera de nosotros puede estar en una posición para la cual no planificamos.
Y eso
muchas cosas en nuestras vidas pueden suceder en un segundo. Tomorrow is not promised. And this moment is beautiful, and we hope we can hold on to it. Sonia, let's talk a little bit. So you are a mom. I'm a grandma, and let me just tell you, it's a beautiful feeling, but it's almost like surreal when you look at your grandchildren. I have a 16-year-old grandbaby.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, I have a 3-year-old. And they came from our children. So it's really interesting. The psychology behind it. You look at them and you go, wow, that's so interesting.
Oh, yeah. I have a mini-me. Absolutely mini-me.
Ooh, is that good?
It's great. It's great. But I'm also married. I have a husband. My husband and I have been together for 22 years. Yay. We've been married for 20. And he just lets me be me. He lets me do the work that I do. And he's able to take a step back. There are many times we're at Walmart and a client will come up to me. My family knows the routine. Okay, we're just going to keep walking and you stay talking.
Eventually, mom will come to the cash register. Yeah. She will come. Honey will come. Don't worry. I love the way that you say that because it's so important for our partners, regardless of what stage you are in your relationship or how long you've been. Love is love. Love hard. I tell people all the time, love hard. La vida está llena de amor. Ama con todo el corazón, ¿ok? Pero con mucha razón.
Oh, okay? I like that.
Con mucha razón. El bobo se quedó atrás. Okay, so let's be clear. Love, be compassionate, but love hard, man, so you can feel all of it. But also be very, very, very aware of what healthy love looks like for you, because that is not the same for everybody. So what does healthy love look for you? And go to those that, like your mom and your dad, you could use and say, I kind of like what mom and papi have. But what happens if you didn't really fall in love the same way where you grew up? So you might have said to yourself, you know what? I like this part, but this other part, not so much. Okay, not so much. And that's okay. That's okay. There's traditions I carry that I go, yeah, those I want to keep. There were other ones that I was like, no, esa va para la basura, no quiero.
Break that cycle.
And some of that was even music, mija. It's like my poor mother. She's around here. She can tell you. So, Sonia, you decide to go into a field that a lot of people, I'm a patient of mental health. I have a brain injury. I'm very public about it because I think it's very important for us para hablar de que todas estas cosas suceden. Lamentablemente tenemos un sistema que como que no se atreve, como que tiene un baile. It's like a tango. Tango is very strong.
Yeah.
You either know the moves or you don't. You can't fake it. It's not like in merengue we can sit there for a little bit and
right?
People are like, oh, look, she likes merengue. Tango is like, you're in
your face.
Right, in your face. You do it or you don't do it. But I find that a lot of the conversations that we need to have about mental health, about growing and development, nutrition, all of these type of things are like almost shy. And they have put us Latinos in the unreachable place. I'm like, no. We're not unreachable.
Well,
We
it's
do
funny
want
that
to
you say
talk.
that. It's funny that you say that. I had one client who told me one time, she was like, "Pero Sonia, yo no estoy loca." And I was like, "No, no, no, you're not crazy. And everything that you're experiencing is real. Like that doesn't make you crazy." Right. And I think sometimes people they connect the words mental health with crazy. And I think more so in our culture, esas son cosas de loco, esas son la gente loca, and they don't realize that they're really labeling themselves in a way that's not healthy for themselves because they're really preventing themselves from getting the help that they need. Right. And so when I work with the family, when I was actually more out in the field, because I'm not anymore, as you know, but when I was a in-home worker, so I transitioned from the families in crisis, I went over to Klingberg Family Centers. It's a private nonprofit in New Britain and in Hartford. But my job starting out there was an in-home therapist, and I dealt with all the abuse and neglect cases, so all the cases that were coming into care with DCF. So we didn't work for DCF or the state, but we provided the therapy, the in-home services to work with those families. And a lot of times I would work with parents who felt like they were losing it with their children and being abusive because they didn't know anything different. Right, it was generational. Their parents abused them. All they knew was to hit with the correa, or to hurt a child in a way that wasn't okay, and they couldn't stop themselves when they got angry. So a lot of my work was helping them to understand that they weren't crazy in their effort to try to discipline their children. It was just how they were doing it. And so giving them new tools and new ways to better effectively communicate, and allowing their children to also have a voice about how they were feeling about being unsafe with them was huge. And I think that's probably one of the works that I stayed at, the jobs I stayed at the longest, because I felt like I was making such a huge difference in my community. I worked in Hartford and I worked in New Britain for all those years. And that was probably the proudest work that I've done in my whole career. And I've done a lot, but that's probably one of the first jobs that I really felt, aside from working with the kids in the prison, the children of prisoners, that was it, where I felt like, okay, here I can prevent. Right. I'm in a place where I can make some changes and prevent these kids from getting into the system, because we were really that preservation. So we were the last hope before DCF made decisions about pursuing court cases to remove children. So we could really have an impact.
There are some comments that I'd like to share
Sure.
immediately with you, Sonia, so you can and help us with this. So, and then we will talk a little bit of where Sonia
Sure.
is now and the places she works at and the benefits of probably doing some outreach. Señoras y señores, para todos ustedes que me conocen, saben que yo soy muy honesta sobre mi salud mental. Saben que lo mío es una herida cerebral, pero han pasado tantas cosas. Yo tengo 54 años. Hay algo que Sonia dice que es tan vital. But I want to mention Carla Butler's comment right now, and I think is very, very important. And I do agree with you, Carla. Healthy boundaries are imperative to do this amazing work. Es bien importante para nosotros tener claros cuáles son nuestros límites, dónde comienza la conversación, dónde comenzamos nosotros, dónde terminamos nosotros, cuándo regresamos, en qué lugares podemos compartir esto, en qué lugares no podemos compartir esto. So thank you, Carla, for your comment, because it's very, very true. My husband is not happy that I made fun of his dancing. He thinks that he's taking it personal. Maybe, babe, you need to go talk to Sonia about that emotion. I love this guy. What can I tell you?
I love Carla's comment because it's true. As I progressed in my career, I became a supervisor. And so a lot of my work then became working with social workers and working with other clinicians and really helping them in their role. And that was a huge part of the work. I had some workers sometimes who would want to tell parents what to do. Like if they just did what I tell them to do, this would get better. And I'm like, okay, but they're adults and people have choices. People make choices in their life, and we may not always agree with those choices. Then our job becomes is how do we help them understand how those choices impact their children, impact their family, has potential impact on themselves. And then how do we build that? How do we build that? How do we build those skills where they know that they maybe next time they can think of the alternative, or what else could I do? You know, a lot of times I'll have a parent that I'll run into, like at the Walmart, and they'll be like, "Oh, so and so, she's doing so good. She's, and we're so glad you came and you helped us so much." And those are the times where you always stop and you wonder, I wonder how they're doing. Because healthy boundaries. I probably have horrible boundaries that way, Carla, where I hold a lot of the families in my heart still. And I'm always thinking, whatever happened to them, I hope they're okay, and when you get that feedback of you made a difference, that really saved our marriage, or you really saved our teenage daughter from committing suicide, or, whatever it was.
I thank you for saying that, but I did wanted to mention there's my daughter, that I love you, Ma. It's not for you, Sonia. That one is mine. Okay. That one is mine. That one is mine. My 34-year-old. It's very imperative for me to have people like you talk about mental health in a open conversation. Señoras y señores, si usted necesita terapia, mire, le voy a decir, lo más rico de la terapia es que uno cierra la puerta, ¿ok? Y los morones, esos se quedan afuera. Lo que sean los morones. Entonces uno se trae todos sus monkeys con uno, ¿verdad? A una persona que totalmente no está envuelta en el mundo de uno, pero nos escucha y nos puede ayudar a como descifrar lo que está pasando. Usted no está loco, ¿ok? Usted no está loco, no le falta nada, ¿ok? Papá Diosito no lo hizo roto, no se preocupe. Todos tenemos mentores en el camino. Si le cambiáramos el pensamiento que nosotros tenemos de, ay, si voy donde Sonia le va a contar a la amiga mía que mira, que se me está cayendo el matrimonio, que Dios mío, que el muchacho que le rompí la cabeza, que you become this, it's almost like mania in people's head. I often get people saying to me, please don't say you're in therapy. I'm like, but that's I do trainings on that.
Yeah, no.
about the beauty of deciding to heal and move forward, and how it is different for everybody.
It's just important to get rid of the stigma of getting help. I think people, I know my generation or the generation before me, always thought, well, talking about what goes on in our house stays in our house. We don't talk about what happens here to the outside world. But things have changed, and we've recognized that it's important for our own mental health, to break cycles of abuse. So if it happened in your family cycle in the past, it's okay to want something different and to reach for something more, right? It's okay to have those desires to want to be healthy and to want to say, hey, this is not okay. This doesn't feel right. What can I do about this? Like, there's got to be somebody else who's going through this. And I think that's the gift. The gift is everybody who hears anything from me today is this: you're not alone. You're not alone in whatever you're dealing with. You are not alone. There are people that are dealing with the same thing. The difference is those who want to change, who want to get help and want to get healthy. And if you want to do that, you can. There's so many services out there.
Para todos ustedes que se sienten con esa necesidad de que podré conversar con alguien, es privado, no es privado, la cosa más bonita del mundo es que no automáticamente, y esto es una cosa que Sonia me perdona, pero yo critico muchísimo del sistema, todavía no tenemos una forma encarecida para nosotros ir a un lugar. No todo terapista tiene el mismo corazón, la misma, esas cosas. Todo es como un matrimonio, yo le digo a las personas.
Claro que sí.
Tú no tienes que ir donde ese terapeuta o ese psiquiatra o lo que yo voy al psiquiatra. Estoy con Gloria Trevi, ¿ok? Yo voy al psiquiatra, pero el mío no me molesta, ni lo tengo que demandar, ni nada por el estilo. Se escucha la canción de Gloria Trevi, ese psiquiatra es muy malo. Pero para todos ustedes, yo voy y estoy muy contenta con mi neurólogo y todo ese tipo de cosas, pero rompiendo esos estereotipos de que calladito nos vemos más bonitos. Hay un lugar y un tiempo para todo, pero es una química, es como un matrimonio, cuando uno consigue a la persona ideal, ¿ok? Y uno se da cuenta. Y usted puede divorciarse de esa persona
Claro,
también.
sí, por favor, dilo otra vez porque es verdad. A veces uno va a la terapia y piensa que esta persona, yo no caigo con esta persona, no, como que no me siento que puedo ser my natural self, right? Mi persona natural con esta persona y siento como que me está mirando en una forma que no me siente, como no me hace sentir bien. Nadie dice que te tiene que quedar con esa persona. Tú tienes que conseguir una terapista que te vaya a apoyar y que tú sientas que es un sitio sano donde tú te puedas desahogar y que nadie te está mirando con dos caras.
Well, people are like, I'm sorry, Sonia, you just started. It's already 7:42 and people are just warming up. Can you stay with us? Are you okay?
I can stay.
Okay, okay. Well, this is all your fault. That's all I have to say. Good people get good responses, right?
Oh, thank
Para
you.
todos ustedes, estamos hablando con Sonia Colón Mora y Sonia es terapista, pero eres terapista familiar.
I am a licensed mental health social worker. Yes. I'm a
So, para todos
LMSW.
ustedes, no hay límites para Sonia, no hay límites. Pero lo que más me impacta de Sonia es que puede hablar inglés y español, primeramente. Es una mujer que de verdad está dispuesta a escuchar y a entender que no todos venimos del mismo camino. Y aquellos que podemos crecer en el mismo hogar,
Sí.
tenemos una experiencia muy diferente.
Sí.
Yo hablo con mis hermanos y mi hermano me dice,
Mi
tú
hermana.
dejaste que mami me pegara con la chancleta. Y le digo, ¿qué chancleta? ¿De qué tú hablas? Lo cual no es cierto porque él era el más pequeñito. A él nadie le daba con chancleta. Pero hay unos comentarios aquí and you have them on screen so you later can go on, but I'd like to read them to you because I think it's important. We have men and women here. I work in collaboration with my brothers and sisters. I always say this in the community. I learned so much at all interactions that we have. Kathleen says therapy, hands up. Catherine is a retired nurse for over 30 years, okay, and author of a book you're going to love. I'll introduce you to the book.
Okay.
I love the fact, this is Michael Newman. I love the fact that so many people that go into these fields of social help bring their love, compassion, and empathy to the fields. Okay. And speaking from the past experience, it makes it so much easier to seek help, knowing that treatment is like a number.
It's
And
not like a number. It's not like a number.
It's not like a number. Exactly. Sorry. Thank you all that play a part in social work. And let me just tell you this, Michael's part of my tribe. So Michael has been with me serving, collecting, informing, educating. He's a survivor, a thriver. He has fought many, many, many demons. So he's speaking from a place that most of us have not visited nor wish to visit. I wish there was more education for parents on how to parent their children in different stages in both the parents and the child's life. It seems the help is offered when things get way out of hand, when DCF is called.
Can I answer that one?
Oh, it's not. Go ahead. That's why I told you might have to stay a little bit longer because people just. Yes.
So Moko Yomba, one of the things that I've done is kind of my own pet project, right? Is I started offering my services to do parent education, mainly around parent communication with children, because I find that a lot of times parents' frustrations and anger, where it becomes physical and they tend to become abusive, is because they're not hearing their children's needs. Every child is different. And so I've taken it upon myself to do some community work, and I've offered my services where I do parent education sessions, classes. So just putting it out there. There are those free classes. You just have to find them.
So for all of you, para todos ustedes que están interesando, el comentario de Mocoyomba, que es mi hija, y hay algo bien importante, Sonia, y te confieso esto y se lo confieso a todo el mundo porque yo hablo desde la experiencia, para eso está este espacio. Yo nunca pensé que iba a tener una hija de 34 años. Y un día me despierto, porque parece que fue así, un día me desperté y tengo una adulta. ¿Verdad? Y yo en terapia tuve que aprender que de ahora mi relación era diferente.
Yes.
¿Y
Yes.
cuál es mi relación ahora? ¿Y cómo participo de esta vida? ¿Y cómo soy la mejor madre, verdad? Para esta vida que es de una mujer. Es de mi bebé, pero ella es una mujer y una madre. Eso es bien importante para nosotras las madres, los papás, los adultos, como usted se llame. Yo estoy pues en los 50 y digo esto continuamente para que usted vea que en cualquier momento usted puede tener esta conversación con sus hijos si así usted lo desea, pero tenemos que echarnos a nadar, a decir, mira, todos vivimos en el mundo de la imperfección porque nadie ha conocido la perfección. Todos vivimos buscando algo, ¿verdad? Y a veces, pues, cuando te duele algo, pues tú vas al médico, ¿verdad? Espero. Pero hay algo que nadie habla, Sonia, y quisiera compartirlo contigo para que tú nos ayudes un poquito. ¿Te están dando mucho amor? And as I say, al César lo que es del César, right? So she's getting a lot of love and a lot of feedback. The department, and I will say this, anything I say on my show, I hold full responsibility. This is not Sonia. This is me. I still think the Department of Children and Families has a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do. Their staff is way bombarded at all kinds of levels. There's all kinds of messages. The community still doesn't understand what DCF, are they coming to take my children? Are they not coming to take my children? After the lawsuit, it was about keep all families together. Is that really healthy? Not healthy. So all of these combinations, but there's also laws that do not allow parents to parent their children at the level of discipline that they should. So if you have a 14-year-old, you got 9-year-olds saying, you know what? If you yell at me one more time, I'm going to call DCF.
I've heard it.
I've heard a 5-year-old say to their mother, I'm not going to school and I know DCF. I'm like, okay, so there are laws put in place that disempower some parents, but still hold them responsible. Right? So there's an age where your child can decide no longer to go to high school, but you still have to pay all their bills. So we talk about this all the time, that even social workers who want to help, doctors, lawyers, I talk to them all the time, even politicians, they go, what? I'm like, yeah, you're sending this crew in there. And let me just tell you, they'll be the first ones, if they're talking to me, to call me and say, Lily, if I go in there, it's a whole different ball game that if you make XYZ phone calls. How the referral comes in or exit has a lot to do with the interaction. And many people do believe that the minute an agency gets involved, that means that they lose their children, or they lose their housing, or they lose their dignity. And history does prove that we've been in that position for many years. So how do we turn that around? And that's why we're bringing people like Sonia and others to talk to us, so you can see the faces. So when you think about who's out there that I can talk to or refer to, or at least guide me. So can I call Sonia and maybe say, I know, Sonia, that maybe you can't take me on, but who do you think could take me on? We have many social issues and problems. Insurance, who can take insurance, who can't take insurance. Many therapists have now decided, I'm not even dealing with insurance anymore. This is a nightmare. And they're going private. Well, that's $40, $50, $100, $200 for certain people. It's not affordable. Then we have the undocumented community who doesn't have access to all of the services that people think that they have. So we have many conversations to have. So that's why you're so important, Sonia, to walk us through this. And Sonia's like, girl. Sonia's looking at me like, girl, that's a lot of things. Right. And
but I'll just say this. I think what you're talking about is genuine and true, right? There is a real fear factor. Anytime the department becomes involved, it's a fear of what can happen. And I think that's a fear that many of us probably grew up with, or our parents probably grew up with. We were fortunate enough not to have had that experience, but I am sure many of the parents that I've worked with the first thing they think is, are they going to take my kids? And I always have approached my work as, well, we're in this together. So what are we going to do about it? Right. And that means it's not me coming here to change your family. It's about, what are we going to do together? And what are you putting in with your family to work on this? Right. So that was a big part of the work. But the other pieces that you were talking about, I think those are, when I hear about a kid who's challenging their parents or making the threats to call DCF, that's, to me, is a kid who's not feeling safe. That's a kid who has had either too much freedom and exposure to adult things that they feel comfortable talking like that. I would have never talked like that to my mother or my father, right? That would have been like crazy. That was crazy talk. Right. But when I hear kids, when I see kids that are very defensive and have walls up, that says something. That says, I'm not okay. And those are the kids I want to help the most, because those are the kids that are pushing back. Those are the kids that are saying, whatever's happening here, this is not okay for me. This is not safe for me. And being able to hear that is important. And sometimes when I talk with parents and I do the parent education sessions, I talk a lot about parenting styles, how you parent, right? I have two girls. I have a 12-year-old and a 17-year-old who's almost 18. And I parent them both very differently, because they are at different stages of their lives. My 12-year-old is still very immature. She has some developmental delays. So she requires my attention in a different way. And so how I treat her is very different than what I treat my 17-year-old, who she has more liberties, more freedoms. She's mature for her age. She's very responsible. So it's just a very different relationship. And I think sometimes parents get stuck with that. They think that one size fits all. And that's the mistake that I think a lot of parents make. When you talked about your daughter, now you're talking about having an adult relationship, right? So this is where I think these are, right? You have to have parental boundaries. Your daughter's going to love me right now, right? Because I'm talking about parental boundaries. You can't be a grandmother who's now telling your adult daughter how to parent, right? You can advise, you can coach, you can give suggestions, but you can't have the expectations that she's going to parent just like you parented.
No, I'm glad she doesn't parent the same way I parent.
But some parents do, right?
Right.
And some parents tend to be overly, like they come in and they want to take over. And you're doing a disservice, because now you're not allowing your daughter to exercise that authority that we were talking about, right? As a parent, you want them to have some authority. And if you're constantly cutting them off as a parent, and your kid can call grandma to come fix it, that's not good. That's not good, right? So those are just some examples of different things, but because you said a whole lot.
No, and it wasn't towards you, Sonia. Let me just be clear. I'm just
Yeah.
abusing the privilege that I have you, so people can hear you smile. I hear your smile. I feel your smile. That's really important to me, to feel the smile of someone. I don't know Carla, but I'm falling in love with Carla.
Love Carla.
Am I supposed to?
You should know Carla.
Okay, but I don't think I know Carla, but I'm liking this conversation we have right now. All children, it's easier for me to read from my tablet, so that's what you're watching. All children have a bright right to happiness. I mean, this is so true. Children are not born with a manual, but nor are they born with request. A child doesn't say, hey, these are the things I want to achieve in my life. Okay, make it happen. All right, you are in charge. They're not born the baby boss. Although when they don't sleep, it seems like they're the baby boss. But I think her comments are really to be looked at. Everybody's comment, let's teach them how to be parents as soon as they become a parent. Cost should not matter. And this is so important. And this is one of the things that I fight all the time, Carla. As an advocate, this is what I fight all the time. I love the talk about disempowering parents when we are grandparents. It's very important that we continue to have these conversations. And if you want to be when I've worked with families of all walks of life, because we all come in different colors, shades, heights, and whatever, I first start with, what do you feel comfortable doing? What's your strong suit? What do you feel is your strong suit? What do you feel you got down packed? What's your thing? And I hear a lot of, I don't know, which means that somebody's already feeling a lot of pain and a lot of distress also in their ways. We live in a world where we are working. We live in a world where we're working 100 miles an hour, so on and so forth. Our grandparents were more active then because the situations were very different. We're moving out of our native countries. We're moving away from families. So the system in itself, our makeup is different than it used to be.
That's true.
Right? It's very different than it used to be. So when I talk to other people, they're like, oh, you had an abuela. I'm like, I had to. I had to. And my maternal grandma was really, really a big part of our lives. And I had my paternal grandma, and she lived, more towards the country. We had beautiful times over there, so on and so forth. But I had a powerhouse as a mother, but she was a single mother. And I love my dad. But it was a good thing that she was a single mother, if that makes sense for some of you out there. Healthy children.
Yes.
All right. Healthy children. Sometimes we're better.
Parents make tough decisions.
Exactly. And for that happiness, and what does that mean for that child? That child is not born with a resume. So there are this beautiful thing that I remember holding my daughter, and I say this to people all the time. I remember holding my daughter and go, oh no, Dios mío, Dios mío, Dios mío, you're trusting me. Ay, Dios mío, ay, Dios mío, Dios mío, Dios mío. Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. Like I was having panic attacks all the time thinking, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And my daughter was born legally blind. So, and she can see the world now, which I'm always in trouble because she can really, really see. But listening to you.
I was just going to say, you said something that was so, it touches me because I used to say it all the time with a lot of the parents that I work with. When I would meet them for the first time, it was kind of like my little icebreaker, like my little joke with them, right? And I'd be like, oh, so can you bring out the manual that you got when you had the baby so we can go through it together? And they look at me like, the heck she's talking about?
What hospital did she have her baby at?
And then I'd be like, oh, you didn't get a book that told you what to do, when to do it, how to do it, when, and how often to do it, and when that to do this. And she was like, they'd always be like, no, I didn't get one of those. And I'd be like, yeah, because it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist, right? We all come into this doing the best that we can. And you're going to make mistakes. You're not going to be perfect. And that's okay. You just have to learn from those mistakes, right? And that's how I would start, because that immediately says, okay, I'm not judging. No one is going to judge you when you make mistakes, but you have to be accountable for your mistakes. You have to own them. If you do something, you have to take ownership and say, you know what? I messed up. Now all I can do is try to fix it. Right. And sometimes saying sorry makes the world of a difference in the life of a child. Children, sometimes parents don't think that they owe their children an apology. I've met many, many, many parents who do not think that they should ever apologize to children. And I always talk about how important it is. Children are human. They have feelings. And if you hurt their feelings, you should be okay to say, hey, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you feel that way. And sometimes I'm my own worst because I'm a social worker of 2 girls, and I swear they give it back to me all the time. I have my teenage daughter once tells me, she goes, Ma, I need to talk to you, but I don't want to talk to you, Ma. I want to talk to the therapist. I was like, okay. Right. And then we go there. But being able to have that level of communication with your kids, regardless of their age, is so important.
So now I really have to tell you that I'm so glad that Wanda said you have to talk to Sonia. I really want to talk about where you work at, but before we go there, my daughter's cracking up. I would always say to anybody, if anybody could count my mistakes, good luck. You know what I mean? I did the best that I could with what I had, and I continue to grow.
And
Like
that's the best you could ask
I
for.
tell my daughter, and I share this with everybody. I tell my daughter she has a lot more insight than I did. She has a lot more freedom in her speech than I did. I was born an advocate, so like at a very early age, you know, you could have told that, you know, I was going to be in this role at some level. It was always, you know, justice was always a calling for me. I didn't like the traditional reporter kind of thing because what do we do about it? That's not your role, right? It's like, so we leave now. You know, it's like, oh, se te quemó la casa. Buenas tardes, buenas noches. Me puede hablar doña Sonia de la casa que se le quemó, pobrecita. Ya llegó la Cruz Roja. Le pedimos a Dios que le traiga lo mejor del mundo y mucha suerte, camarados.
That's
You know,
terrible.
I couldn't do it. I could no, it's
Thank God.
necessary.
I think you found your space. I think you definitely found your space.
You know, I had to like, you know, my truck was full of stuff, you know, like food and it was horrible. It was horrible. I just failed terribly. Love wins. I love that, Carla. I say that all the time.
Yes.
Love always wins. Sonia, I want to talk a little bit about you've chosen to be part of the family of this agency for a very long time.
Yes.
Let's
Yes.
talk about Klimberg.
Let's talk about Klingberg Family Centers.
Because you've
So
chosen to be part of this family for a long time.
I have. You know, first, I believe in their mission, right? It's to help heal children and help families reach their full potential. That's it. And that's what we've been talking about all night, right? Helping children and families and healing. And it's so important. I've been blessed when I came over to Klingberg. You know, I started as an in-home therapist with them. But I've stayed because I've had different opportunities for growth. I've had different opportunities for exposure to different things. You know, Klingberg helped me to go to grad school. I was nominated for the Child Welfare League of America Award when I graduated from my undergrad and I was going into my master's. And the way it worked, you had to have the agency nominate you. And I was part of the East Coast nominations. So, you know, this was big. This was like, you know, one out of 10 of the
Can I
United
stop
States.
you? Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yes.
For all of you out there, remember how I do all of my little lives in my kitchen and whatever? Did you hear Sonia say this was big? It is. You have full permission to celebrate your growth and your victory. I talk
Yes.
about this all the time. It's okay to say, I was excited. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, this was big.
It was a blessing.
Yes, it was a blessing. So I
It
just
really
wanted to
was.
pause and let you know, my friends, my brothers and sisters, you have permission to celebrate, jump up and down when you got this. So I just wanted to point that out. I love the way that you did that
Thank
without any apology.
No, you know, I'm so grateful for the opportunity because yes, it was a national recognition, but it really came down to the finances. I couldn't afford to go to grad school. And this scholarship allowed me to, you know, the agency paid half and they matched, right? So the award was $5,000 and Klingberg matched the other 5,000, which is exactly what I needed. Let me tell you, God works in mysterious ways and doors
Amen.
open when they're supposed to. And it allowed me to pursue my education. That gained that agency my loyalty, right? Because they gave to me. So I, in turn, have given to them. And they have continued to be a blessing throughout the years. You know, I have had the opportunity not only to be the social worker, the therapist, but then the supervisor, a coordinator, director, into my new role, you know, over the past year and a half. I think it's already been a year and a half, vice president of programs. And so now I oversee all of the agency, most of the agency programming at Klingberg. So our clinical side and our community services side. And that's important to me because I know how important it is to serve my community. I've done it. I've walked the front line and I feel like I hold it very near and dear. And I want to make sure that when anybody gets services from my organization or from one of my team members, that they're getting the best that they can get. And if it's not, then I'll make it right. I'll do it myself or I'll have somebody else do it. Right. But I mean, and I love the work that we do. You know, it's Klingberg. For those of you who don't know anything about Klingberg Family Centers, it started out as an orphanage, and it started out as a pastor who, literally in 1903 found 3 kids on the side of the road and brought them home to his wife and said, we can't leave them on the street. And, it started with prayer, and people from his church started donating a chicken, a sack of potatoes, and it just grew. And then it became an actual full-fledged orphanage, and then it became a children's home, and then now it's a Klingberg Family Centers, which is a full nonprofit organization, which a huge array of services, everything from parent education to mental health services. We have a child advocacy center. I mean, we do it all. We're really, and I'm proud of the work that we do. And that's the other piece. You have to love your job, and you have to want to do this kind of work. And this is the hard stuff. This is the hard stuff because we deal with a lot of tough situations and cases. Our child advocacy center alone, we get all of the cases of abuse. So a lot of kids, these are the kids that are their criminal charges are pending. And these are the kids that in the past, they would have to tell their story over and over and over again and repeat that trauma. And so we now are able to have what we call forensic interviews. You interview the child once, and that recording is what's used in testimony. So children aren't being re-traumatized over and over again. Then we provide this mental health support to that family, not just the child, to the whole family, right? Because that's important. Sometimes we forget something happens to our child and the parent is equally as destroyed as that child. And how do you provide services to help that parent really cope and help the child, whether they believe them or not? Because that's huge.
I think I do. Okay, I'm getting when is she coming back? Please, Lily, bring her back. Would she be willing to come back? These are like boxes that I'm getting. And that's a question for Sonia. Would she come back and hang out with us?
Absolutely.
And we can learn more about the agency. Carla, here we have, mira, Carla, you're in my head, so I guess I gotta meet you. Did you hear me say Carla?
Yeah.
And so, Carrie Ann, thank you so much for joining us. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. But we cannot leave without two things. Without giving you the opportunity to hustle and bustle. Tell me, what did the guests say today? You take $50 home. You can get them through Cash App. Let's see, Sell, I think, is open. All of that kind of stuff. A check in the mail. You have to trust me. What can I tell you? And so on and so, or you can get a gift card if that's something that you're interested. ¿Qué dijo Sonia en su entrevista hoy? Se pueden llevar $50 a casita para motivarlos un poquito, ¿verdad? Yo no sé de ustedes, pero los huevos están súper caros.
Oh, sí.
Alguien que hable con alguien porque están súper caros. Y en Aldi's no había el otro día, que quede claro. Pero para todos ustedes, en lo que ustedes pues se ponen las pilas y se animan un poquito, I want to hear, what did our guest Sonia say today that really, really you felt at home, that you felt like she was embracing you, or that hallelujah moment that we all have that go, see, you see, she knows what I'm talking about. You see, she, we've all had that moment where we go, oh, I'm finally with the right tribe. Okay, no estoy loca. Okay, that might be true in my case, but we can talk about that later, Sonia. I've had so many labels that loca would probably be a nice one. Maybe I can write music or something. But anyway, so sense of humor carries me very, very, very far. Is the only way to do what I do every day. But if you had, Sonia, we do this to most of our guests, those that we can trust with the magic wand, by the way. If you had the magic one and you have one wish, only one. I know everybody's like, can I have 3? Can I have 4? No, you have one. Where will you use it? What would you change? And
oh, that's such a hard one. But I'm going to go with the first thing that came to my mind, which is I would wish to heal a lot of the children that are suffering today, because I don't know that they have the right supports to care for them, or I've seen so much I tell my husband, I trust no one because I've seen so much, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've worked with so many difficult situations, but I pray. And I pray for healing for the children that are out there and don't have the right support system.
That's a beautiful one. I wanna make sure we don't close out here without a winner, but I also want to tell you that someone that we trust and love and always supports our mission when we hit the streets, maybe feeding, clothing, and breaking bread with our brothers and sisters is here, Crescesta, and she says the love, care from Klimberg in all the families they have touched and helped. So she's sending you love, and let me tell you, Crescesta is hardcore.
Well, I
You don't do
appreciate
it, you don't do it.
it.
Okay, that's why she's part of my tribe, or I'm part of hers. I'm not sure, but either way, I'm blessed to have her.
Well, I'll tell you one last thing. I'm doing the Walk Against Hunger on May 20th to raise money for the Klingberg Food Pantry. So if anybody wants to walk with me or join my team, please reach me on Facebook.
Well, you can send us the information and we'll make sure it gets out to everybody. So I'm waiting for the response, but I want to wrap this up for you guys. ¿Quién se va a llevar los $50? Who is going to take them? Everybody here has participated. Who's going to nominate someone? Let me know. ¿Quién se lleva los $50 para su casa? The reason why we have Lily Sin Barreras is to have a place where you can have a safe conversations. There's no beating down here anybody. Everybody's opinion has their own weight. Let me tell you, we come from the place that we know.
Thank you, Lily, for having me too.
Thank you. I mean, we come from the place that we know. But you know what's the beauty of this? Is that we can move from certain places. You can grow, you can enhance, you can go, no, I don't have to do that. No tengo que hacer eso. Oh, I'm doing that. Yes, I'm already doing that. Qué rico, qué bueno. And just to remind you, there is not a manual. So do not write to me and say, la señora dijo que había un manual. No, ella dijo que no había un manual, que es una forma en que ella rompe el hielo con la persona con quien hable. So no busque el manual. No hay manual.
I could always come back and do some of our parenting talks.
Yes!
That would be great. And if that way, any of the parents who want to join the conversation, we could really talk about the different parenting styles and why it matters.
Okay, so you're not being let go, and I'm so sorry for that, but that's your fault. Right? And greatness only carries more heavy duty work, right? So donate to the organization.
Oh, so you can go to the Walk Against Hunger and you can look for Klingberg Food Pantry, and my name is on there. You can donate right there.
Well, I want to tell you 1, 2, 3 people have made the donation that they're donating.
Well, I thank you. I thank you. The food pantry helps to feed all of the children and families at Klingberg Family Centers, but we now have expanded our services to the community. So our pantry is going to be open twice a week to community members. Even if they're not clients at Klingberg, they could still come get food. Our goal is to make sure that hunger is not one of your issues, right? And that's important. You can't be mentally treating your mental health if you're thinking about when your next meal is coming from.
So the prize is $50. Somebody's matching it with another $50. Okay, you're taking $150 for your walk on the show.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
So para todos ustedes que no conocen a Sonia, tienen otra heroína, tienen otra en su comunidad, no se dejen llevar, ¿verdad? Por sus dudas. Escuchen sus dudas y busquen la aclaración. Nothing happens overnight. Okay, so anybody who's telling you that change happens overnight, I got a good exercise for you right here, right now. If you have a basket in your bathroom where you like to put your wipes and, if it's on the left, change it to the right. If it's on the right, change it to the left. And it's going to take your brain some adjusting and you going, it's to the left now, it's to the right now. Just do it. That is what happens to our brains, okay? We don't immediately read a book and go, I'm going to adopt everything that says in this book. I have people call me all the time, Lily, I read the book, I'm doing it all. I'm like, Madre Santa.
About change one step at a time. Change one step at a time.
Okay, so Sonia, in my belief, may God bless you, your family. May your daughter have a wonderful time in her new journey. May the youngest one be able to hold you forever and ever and ever. Abuse the privilege that the oldest one is probably going away for college. Just saying. Just saying. Start claiming mommy even more and daddy. Thank you to your husband for, for allowing us to share you. Can we say that? Thank you to your parents for building a village. Okay, que Dios los bendiga, que Dios los acompañe. Sonia has said that she wants to come back. If you guys want her to come back, I have already invited her publicly. Thank you for sharing wisdom and empathy. This was great. Thank you. You're hearing from a lot of people. You can go back and get the comments yourself. Just hit me up on email. That's what the kids say now. So I got a granddaughter who's 16. So I got to keep up, That's how it goes. Tú sabes. They think that they made it all up. We did it before. Let me tell you, babies, Converse were ours first. Okay? Okay? Que te quede claro.
I love it. I love it.
You guys can put height on it, but we wore them before you did. So I want to leave you. I want to leave you, Sonia, with I hope you laughed a lot. I love that you were able to do that. I hope that you will come back to this community. We are growing and growing. Share it with people. We feed, clothe, share, and love every third Sunday of the month at South Green Park. But meanwhile, we're doing the shows, documenting the stories, bringing people like you on and others. I'm not interested in the letters following your name. I'm interested in your heart. And so always remember, I'm very proud of those who are able to achieve many, many, many academic achievements. But without a heart and a pulse, they are just another certificate, another graduation, another investment. So I want to leave you with a quote from a young woman who continues to write and send it to me. And she goes by the nickname of Yeta. And I want to remind you of this one. And these are people who write to me when they want to share some of either their poetry or something. Some people are ready to share, some people are not. And she says, I loved you even when it hurt. So, señoras y señores, eso viene directamente de la cabecita de una joven y dice, te amé aún cuando me dolía. Sonia, un placer. Que Dios te bendiga a ti, a tu familia.
Gracias a ti.
May Klimberg continue to grow on their mission. May we be able to heal together every day. And for all of you who follow us here on Lily Sin Barreras, you know we love our tribe. Now you have met Sonia. Follow her. Do you have social media on Klimberg and,
You could follow, on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. You can follow me on LinkedIn. And you can also follow Klingberg Family Centers on LinkedIn or on Facebook. But I would love to come back. You're great. You're phenomenal. I love what you're doing. So anything that I can ever do to support and help, please let me know.
So, señoras y señores, con eso todo lo tienen. El amor gana. And remember, we can't leave here without everybody typing, love is a verb. Love is a verb. Give it to yourself. Overflow. Let's go with Oprah on this one. Okay. Let's visit Ellen DeGeneres. Be kind. Okay. And let's not forget of our own stars in our community who say she wishes that all the children could heal. We can. Whatever we decide as a community, we can do it. We can. We can. We can. We can. Every time I heard a no, I heard a maybe. And today is a yes. Don't forget that. Buenas noches, señoras y señores. I will see you next Sunday or in our next live where we can chat and watch me try to make a recipe. Los quiero mucho. Buenas noches. Thank you, Sonia.
Cuídense.